Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, June 6th, and it's quarter after four. So, what we're going to talk about today. After seeing a couple comments, I decided that, you know what, it's about time to do a refresh, restart on is it still feasible and viable to start a small engine repair business? And most of the guys I know that are asking are retiring. So stick around. I think you'll be surprised. Alrighty, so welcome back. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it, and this is the weekday. It goes on Monday through Friday, available as a podcast for your listening pleasure. Today we're talking about, is it viable to even consider starting a new small engine repair business? And the bigger question is it the right time to start any kind of business, right? Small business. And the answer is yes. But certain things have to come together, all right? Somewhere you're going to have to get that drive to keep you going, all right? Because it's not going to be a bed of roses. A lot of people give up too soon because they feel it's not working. And they deem their challenges as failures and give up based on that. And what have we talked about when we talk about failure? We talk about, you know, with time you get experience, and that's things that didn't work for you and things that did work for you. And then take that and put in the wisdom column the things that did work. And you also have to put the things that didn't work and how you got around that, right? You have to have the internal drive, something that's pushing you to say, keep going. Now, I don't want you throwing good money after bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, here, I know Amos has already said this, but I am the same as Amos. When I was younger, the thought of someone in their late teens, early 20s, owning a dairy farm and milking 70 head of cows and owning that farm was unheard of. All right? Because the only way you could get into the dairy industry, to be honest with you, was a family member, a parent getting ready to retire, and you stepping in and taking over the operation, right? And then paying them out of the proceeds for the retirement. And also, it's not just retirement, it's so you're making payments to them, right? I didn't have that. If you listen to some of my videos or watch them, you know that I lost both my parents at an early age. And I was brought up by my grandparents, but my grandfather and my grandmother instilled a good work ethic in me. They said, if there's anything that you would like to do, you can do it. It's just how much is it going to be worth to you to do it? Because if it's not worth doing, why do it? And if you're not willing to give 110%, why are you doing it? And that always kind of stuck with me. But I had, when I bought my first farm with my wife, and we had one child, one son, we had naysayers, terrible. Even our own parents at the time, bless their hearts, they're both passed away, greatest people you ever meet. But even they were naysayers, saying, you can't make it. There's just no way, that it's not like it was back when they got the farm, because they were running a dairy farm as well. My wife came off a dairy farm, and she wasn't scared of work. She told me right off the bat, if you're hiring a farmer, that's okay, but if you're hiring a cook, forget it. But she had even a stronger work ethic than I did, and she balls to the walls. I mean, she get things done. But we had a lot of naysayers tell us it's not going to work. And eventually, after about 8 years, with the milk prices dropping, we were one of the holdouts on our road to where we had to look at what are we going to do. So I went and I worked out, and I got a really good job that paid well, working in the mines, and told her, I said, now is the time, if any. So we ended up having a auction house come in, and they sold off all the cattle and all the machinery. And with the proceeds of that, we were able to pay the farm off and have a few extra dollars to boot. And we also had now a position I had with a mining company that was paying very well, had good insurance, and the biggest thing I'd never had before was a vacation. So they gave me vacation because the year prior, I took they started you out with 2 weeks vacation, so I took the whole 2 weeks in the summer just getting the hay up. So you have to get by the naysayers, but the only naysayer that's going to defeat you is you. If you're a naysayer to yourself, then you're not willing to give it 110% because you're not sure if it's going to work. Well, let me tell you something. None of us, and you guys can ask Amos, none of us are ever 100% positive it's going to work. All we know is we're going to make the best effort possible to accomplish it. And the other thing that I would advise you not to do is to chase money. Chase after something that you don't have a passion for, not much interest, but you see green, right? At the end of the rainbow. And you're never going to succeed because you're never going to have the drive or passion to get to that point. Because drive and passion are going to get you over the hurdles in the roadmap to successful business. And only you can define what a successful business is, right? Now, to some, a successful business is, having money to pay yourself, your employees, maybe, at the end of the year, you make a little bit of a profit. And how big you want to be is totally up to you. You need to figure out what works and what can get you to the point of where you want to be. So, right there in itself, you need to know where you're at right now. You have to be able to take a good accounting of yourself. And sometimes that's hard. And then you have to look at where do you want to be? And it can be where do you want to be in a year? 5 years, 10 years. You need to look at long term. Now, if you're just going to jump in and jump out, I'm kind of like, why are you wasting your time? Right? Because most businesses fail within the first 5 years. Because most businesses will not turn a profit for the first 5 years. And the reason they won't turn a profit for the first 5 years is because most often the time they heavy saddle themselves with debt. And that is, if you decided you wanted to be a small engine dealership, you probably have to go out and buy a building or lease it. You have to floor plan it. You have to carry the inventory that your distributors wanted you to carry, so you're stuck with that. And employees. Employees can make or break you, so hire wisely. But if you go to borrow money to build a business, they want all that stuff. It's called collateral. And as long as your credit score is good, they're more than happy to give it to you, right? My best advice, if you can, don't quit your day job. Start building a customer base. Yes, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get to the point of where Joe Schmo is running a dealership, right? But a lot of times it's not getting to that point that's crucial. It's the idea that you enjoy the journey along the way. It's an eye-opening, I did that, right? And you did it your own way. And I'm not saying you don't need to ask other people, for advice. Absolutely not. Ask. The more information you have, the better equipped you are to succeed. And the better mentors you have in place, the better you're going to succeed. As long as the mentors that you have are not ones that think of typical business, and that is, carrying a lot of debt load. Because a lot of businesses, even the bigger successful ones, if you look at the back end of how much they owe and how much they have that goes out every year, would probably scare you. Most of the time, the only thing you hear about is what the gross sales are. And gross is overall. Net is what they end up with as a net gain for a profit. And then you take your net, and then you take all your operating expenses, employees, loans. There goes your net. So, no, now is as good a time as any. I don't want you guys to be discouraged, but you need to have a firm understanding of the landscape. We are going towards battery. They're going to still need to be serviced to a certain extent, but it's still going to be years before we get rid of the gas engines. I just can't see the battery overtaking us in the next 10 years. I can see maybe the handhelds. Right now, the ones that are buying the push more, I saw one the other day at DeWalt, and it took 20-volt batteries, the big ones, to run, and they had like a 15-minute run time. If you can get your yard mode in 15 minutes, you're fine. But any longer, you're going to have to put both them batteries on charge and wait for it to charge back up, or you're going to have to buy 4 batteries, right? So you can do your yard without waiting a long time. But they had it for sale in the yard sale. That's how well they liked it. So yeah, now is as good a time as any. It's just being smart and not listening to the naysayers. And being your biggest cheerleader. You can't ever give up on yourself. You can give up on a direction. Because if the direction is not getting you where you want it to go, that's just another experience that you can put into the wisdom column to tell you that, yeah, we don't go this direction. We want to go this way. When I first started these, Northern New York parts, I had naysayers again. I had just graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in my late 30s. And people were saying, why? You have a bachelor's degree. Either go on and get your master's or go to work for some tech company. And what I had already done was I had already started a tech company, right? And we worked on computers, we worked on websites, uh, advertising, and the websites we did really well at, except for, I saw the changing market of the landscape of these companies were making the programs easier and easier and easier that even a knucklehead could create a website with it if you so wished. Where when I first started, a lot of it was back end programming, that you had to write programs. But I was smart enough to know, just as I was watching trends, that online sales would become a dominant factor. All right. And I had the skills. I was already doing e-commerce for some of the bigger platforms, all right? Bigger companies creating e-commerce websites so that they could do online business. And I decided, you know what? If I can do it for them, why not for me? And again, I didn't just stop doing them. I did them, plus I started, that's where you put a lot of time into it, and you got to have drive, internal drive. And I started pushing and forging away for this business venture that I was taking on, that I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to sell. I just knew I wanted to sell. And with Claude being my best friend even back then, he had the mechanical down pat. And we started out in a little heifer barn. He lost his job and he was like, what am I going to do? So we decided we'd try that. See if we get any foothold. And, that business was slow to start. But while we were doing that, I was taking and downloading every distributor, every manufacturer had like a downloadable database of all their parts. And it gave list price and then your price, right? But most of them came with the weight already figured out, how much it's going to weigh, SKU numbers, what have you. And what I started doing was I started with eBay, and eBay would allow you to upload. You had to download their sheet, right? Their program, and then input each one into each specified column to theirs. And then I could upload thousands of parts at a time. And I started doing that, everything from Briggs to Kohler to Tecumseh to Honda. These are all OEM, all right? Because I started with the OEM companies. And by the time I got through the first four, we started seeing sales. And with eBay, they allowed us to, post 4, 7, 10 days before we ship, all right? And I knew that of the four, if I ordered their part today from that distributor, I could have it here within 2 days. And then all we'd have to do is just ship it out from here, right? So I would list 7 days to ship. Most often the case, we were shipping in 2. And in the beginning, were we making money? Probably not, because we weren't hitting enough per order to make the shipping charges go away. We had to figure that in. And some of them, if you had over like $250, you got free shipping. And as we started clicking right along, I didn't have to worry about that because we were always exceeding that in orders. So I hired Krista, best person we ever had for an employee. She's my niece. But she started putting in the orders that we needed from each distributor. And I was shipping and packaging with her, the orders going out, while Claude was working on small engine repair out in the repair shop. And it started growing enough so that I ended up with 4 people overseas helping me with the databases and uploading new parts. And then when we took on Amazon and a number of other less heard of e-commerce sites, and not that wasn't only the same. We also had our own website that was e-commerce, so we were uploading to that. And we had the ability on our e-commerce platform to take, credit cards and stuff like that. But I saw what worked, and I just kept repeating it and repeating it with each manufacturer distributor, and kept getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. And we did very well. I'm not going to lie. But once I see the Chinese hit the market, I knew there was going to be a change. And that's the big thing, is you never know what's going to come up. You're going to come up against. And sometimes you're just going to have to say, all right, we had a good run, and shut her down. Or we had a good run, and let's limit our exposure on those venues. And that's what I did. So I'm going to stop there, I think, and we're going to end this video for today. But the end result is, yes, it's as good a time as any. I don't want anyone to be discouraged, but you're going to have the internal drive. You can't be a naysayer to yourself. You have to push that right out. Are you going to have times that you're not sure? Yeah. But during those times, if your drive is good enough, you will overcome that. And if sometimes when you think that you're being a naysayer, when you're saying it won't work this way, that's just your time, experience, and wisdom kicking in. And just instead of just walking away, forge a new direction. What direction do you want to go? On that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Again, thanks so much for watching.